Cowboys and Coffee podcast is back with another new episode as I sit here sipping some late night coffee because I am exhausted and I'm off tomorrow. D, you're sipping yours.
Yeah, I am. I got decaf. That was a great idea Mommy had.
We got to do
Decaf.
what we got to do, man. How's everything going today? Everything's good?
Right now, we're at a schedule at work. One game, one day at a time, one game at a time. I
Beautiful.
break it down like I break down the Giants' offensive play calling. Zero.
Well, listen, we're right now recording during the middle of the NBA draft. And I think we're going to look back at the Cowboys 2022 draft, and we're going to see which players are going to be in what roles going forward. So let's start right off the top. Tyler Smith, who many of us, myself included, were not terribly impressed with, but it looks like the Cowboys front office is thriving under Mike McCarthy. They have a guy who can kick out the left tackle if necessary. He is a dominant physical force at left guard. What's his future this year for Tyler Smith?
Well, it depends on the other Smith.
Well, yeah, Tyron Smith has to be healthy. If he's healthy, what does he look like a guard? Not what he looks like a tackle.
He's got a full NFL season. Okay, the tools are there. He has strength. He's got a year under. How much has he learned to play both positions? To go in there last year and have all that pressure on, did a very good job. Again, the draft pick, everybody scratched their head. I didn't know who he was, but that's typical of Cowboys draft picks anyways. And guess what? Surprise, he played well. And I want him at left guard, but it depends on the Smith brothers.
Well, listen, first round offensive tackles often take a big leap from year one to year two. You look at Christian Darrisaw, you look with the Vikings, you look at Aaron Thomas. With the Giants, you look at Colton Miller, who was with the Raiders. I mean, if he takes a similar leap, we're talking about a Pro Bowl caliber tackle. Now, will he get the reps to be out there? He got the reps year one. My question is, does he have the reps year two? It depends on Tyron Smith's health. But if he does and he gets those reps out there, if he gets out there because they jumble the line, whatever, well, he's going to have the opportunity to grow and perhaps be one of the better tackles in the league. I think he really cleaned up his technique as the year went on. I think the Cowboys, who are moving into the inside zone running scheme, they'll definitely do some man, but they're more zone. That he can move, and if he gets his hands on you, he's going to push you out of the way and create holes for the running back. So I think he can take a big step forward, whether it's guard or tackle. Even guard, he's still going to be moving interior linemen around and getting cutback holes for Tony Pollard, whoever else is Deuce Vaughn, the rest of the crew.
Well, you got a new offensive line coach coming in. They'll give him a little extra things that he didn't get from the last one. And he just got to get out there and play. Again, from last year, this year, when you're offensive lineman, defensive lineman, it's night and day from the first year. Offensive wide receivers, running backs, you can go in there running. You could be a Pro Bowler automatically. It's hard to be those Pro Bowlers your first year, unless your name is Zach Martin.
Right. And I actually think the Cowboys' top three picks of last year, they're going to benefit greatly from playing more last year and more this year. I think who doesn't, right? But I think the Cowboys did a great job of drafting for traits and watching the development of their players, which Mike McCarthy has been big on, and we're really starting to see that. And that brings us to the second round pick. Your pet cat, you called him before the draft. You have been happy they have him, Sam Williams, DN from Ole Miss. He has all the physical tools. If he can start to put together sort of the skill and the mental aspect, he could definitely be a 10-sack guy.
He got 4, didn't know what he was doing. He got 4 sacks, didn't know what he was doing. He's going to know what he's doing now. Again, you have to learn your craft. You really, really do. These guys who make the Pro Bowls and all pro, they learn a craft. It's a talent. It's not just skill. I'm not going to say it's not physical. It's learning your skills and crafting of come up of coming to line of scrimmage and knowing how to beat your guy. He didn't know how to beat his guy last year. He's big and strong, fast, but guess what? The guy in front of him is sane. So you have to develop some. Now, we know DeMarcus Ware had him a little bit this year for a week, whatever it was. Listen, this guy is very, very strong. He's got defensive tackle strength for his size.
He's incredibly physical for a DN. He reminds me of a faster DeMarcus Lawrence. Now that's a high ceiling to make because DeMarcus Lawrence is excellent against the run, but he has a similar. He's a little more twitchy than DeMarcus Lawrence. And if you're going to say, okay, pass rushing downs, you could have Mike on one side, Sam Williams on the other. You can kick DeMarcus Lawrence into D tackle, the 3 technique D tackle, and have Neville Gallimore or one of the D tackles in there. Mozzie Smith, you want to say right up front as another twitchy athlete in the middle. That's a good pass rush on long distances and downs. And they still have Durance Armstrong. They still have Dante Fowler Jr. They have guys to throw in their bodies. Sam Williams, another guy, if he gets more snaps this year, it's going to be very tough to see, okay, how it'll be very tough for opposing offenses to block everybody. So
well,
go ahead.
In the early 90s, they were 10 deep.
Right. Tolbert and Jeffcoat, and how many guys you could just throw in again and again and again and again and again.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
They could just get after you. Third round, guy who didn't get playing time basically all year, Jalen Tolbert. We know he's not a top 3 receiver this year. He's not 1, 2, or 3. Is he? They need him to be the 4th receiver. There are a lot of people are like, and we've talked about this in the previous one with Spencer. People want whatever, the DeAndre Hopkins, right, as well. Okay, he's still out there. Jalen Tolbert's going to need to play on special teams, and he's going to need to be that 4th receiver. Can he be a Cedric Wilson? Can he be a LaRon Robinson? I'm not saying he has to have – those guys had some decent numbers, decent years. But can he be a 4th receiver? And if one of the other guys goes down, can he step into that 3rd receiver role? Because in this offense, you need vertical threats, which he can provide, but you also need guys to get yards after the catch. Tolbert's physical. What's his makeup? Where is he going this year?
Well, in any draft pick you have, this is my observation. After the first year, you could look back and say, he showed me something. D. Williams had 4 sacks and didn't even know what he was doing. He showed me something. Smith started. This guy showed us nothing. So right. I guess there's no only what place to go is up.
Right.
Now, in all intents purposes, he went and worked his tail off. They all work hard, but we have to understand that he understands what he needs to do on the football field. Now, this is the NFL, not for long. And he's just got to show me. Wilson, who had that great pass over the middle against the Vikings and took it to the house, and I guess he kind of regret that signing with the Dolphins. But anyways, that's what you got to, give me something during the year that you catch a 10-yard pass and take it 40 yards, something. You say, yeah, he belongs on the field. Last year did not belong on the field, and he didn't get on the field. In NFL, you have to earn it.
Yeah, and it was obvious that the talent jump from him playing at South Alabama to the NFL was big, was very difficult for him. They had talked about him at 56 in that second round. They went with Sam Williams, and some people had him as a second rounder. He goes in the 3rd, and it was obvious that he just wasn't ready for the jump in talent. That's a big thing for guys from small schools when they go to the NFL. Can these guys play against not just the sisters of the poor? Are they not just going to be playing against lower end talent? What's it like to play against NFL quality talent like your SEC receivers do? That's why Alabama receivers are fantastic coming out. They go against phenomenal cornerbacks and phenomenal defensive players and schemes every single week. Well, say for them when they play like Houston.
Well, they've been playing their college schemes or pro schemes. You have to understand your knowledge has to be on the football field. You have to be smart out there and really know what you're doing as a football player. And you may be able to, see, running track, a 40-yard dash is it's an overrated thing to me. We all love the, well, he was a 4.2 guy. I can give you 10 4.2 guys are not NFL. Ross is one of them, okay? The
Right.
Bengals. I mean, but don't get me wrong, you have to get on the football field. Your knowledge must, how do I get open?
Yeah,
How do I
absolutely.
get, yeah, and
And
catch the ball.
they talked about him as a polished route runner. We're really gonna have to see that this year. We have to see him get out on the field and actually play. Fourth round pick, they go Jake Ferguson,
Show me
tight
something.
end. Fourth round tight end. I think they got Schoonmaker, who's got a little foot issue. Ferguson will step up into the role that Schultz, now that Schultz is gone. He's going to definitely have a bigger role. I'm noted as being sour on Dalton Schultz, but Ferguson gives me three young tight ends who I think can play, get out, block, who can catch the ball and bring a lot of versatility. I see him continuing, even if he has a similar, maybe a little more usage, but similar role. I see a bigger season for him. I'm not saying he's first team All Pro. I'm not saying he's Travis Kelce or Kittle or Andrews or Goddard, but he definitely, I feel, will have a bigger role and a better time and more play this year.
Well, here you go. Here's what I'm going to tell you. Billy Joe Dupree, Doug Cosby, and this, Mike Dick came out at the end of his career. They've have it in Jason Witt. How can I forget him? He's going to be in that line. I like Ferguson. He's got a little magic to him. And the John Mackeys of the world, who was the first breakaway. I mean, Dick had put it on the map, but the Colts tight end was fantastic. I love tight ends. He's bigger and stronger this year, and they're all bigger and stronger to get open even more now. So that's what you expect the tight ends. He's a better blocker than Schultz was.
Oh yes, absolutely. And
mm-hmm.
We can't forget undrafted free agent last year. I wasn't going to bring him up, but I think we should. Peyton Hendershot. So it's three young tight ends,
Right.
two tight ends who have only been in the league for now combined 2 years. One for Hendershot and one here for Jake Ferguson. So you have a very young tight end group that, barring injury, should be there for a while. I know they still like Sean McCune, but Jeremy Sprinkle has provided some value on special teams. But we see the three young tight ends, and I think their role is going to increase, even with Schoonmaker being a second-round pick this year. So we're going to move to round 5. Mike Waletzko, tackle from North Dakota, who really was not usable last year. He was not the best, but
got hurt.
Mike McCarthy doesn't often sing the praises of players who get better. The first one I can remember him doing is Terrence Steele, and Terrence Steele was awful.
Oh,
first. He was dreadful. And he has improved to a very, very good
right absolutely
in the NFL.
Yeah.
Even to the point where
it's not liability.
Right. Even post-injury, we're like, nah, this guy, if he comes back, and his recovery tape, I was watching some drills doing today. He looks strong. The leg is not atrophied like it was. He's rebuilt the muscle there. Well, let's go. Mike McCarthy is saying this is the guy who he's improved a ton, and he's pushing Josh Ball basically off the team, if not, to the other side of the field, kick down the guard. Mike Waletzko, he's got to show something to a guy who you have to at least prove you're a quality tackle. And
how tall is he?
6'7".
Yeah,
he's a big boy.
Yeah.
Big boy. So 5th round last year, the Cowboys really hit. You can say 4th round. 5th round also picked Deron Bland, cornerback from Fresno State, 5 interceptions. I mean, another guy, they're like, he's 6 foot, 197. He knows how to be around the football. Now you put him with Diggs and Gilmore, he might not see as many snaps, but I mean, he's a third cornerback. He'll see a lot of snaps.
Well, when they go 4 wides on these teams, they come in the league first year and really play part-time. I got in there at the end because Lewis got hurt, not at the end, but during the season, to have 5 interceptions is very good. Very good. And he was a 6th round pick or 5th round, 6th?
5th round.
5th round, yeah.
That to me, says a lot that he was able to step in and play tremendously well, because Jordan Lewis is not a bum. Anthony Brown, God bless him, good guy. I do not think he was terribly good. You definitely picked on him. Bland came in, and I don't think you're going to pick on him. Not again, not saying he's Gilmore, but I think he's very tough. I think he provides the Cowboys with 3, and now Jordan Lewis, 4 good cornerbacks, because you have depth there. If someone needs to take a play out, you get dinged up and you take a play off. You're not going to just come in and like, we're going at Bland. You're not doing that right now.
Well, what happens is these guys come in when they go into dimes, the dime package. If it's 3rd and 10, 3rd and 12, they're going to tackle somebody at 8 yards out. And that's what you're going to, because they're going to be on somebody. You're not going to get the 8-yard pass and turn it into 13 and get the first down with these guys. Right. That's what makes them good. Yeah. Tackle. You catch the ball, you get tackled.
That's one of those guys that we were like, wow, he's very, very impressive.
Yeah.
And he came
you don't teach interceptions. It's born into you, by the way.
Correct. He has the feel for the positions. Another way where, listen, this coaching staff and the scouting front office, they're working together to get the guys that they want, which leads me to believe that this year's team will be good too. But last year's draft, it's pretty close. If Tolbert can play, and I'm not saying he has to be great, if he can just give me something on the 4th receiver, Sam Williams can be double-digit sack. If Tyler Smith can keep progressing, this is like home run quality draft last year. The other 5th-round pick, Damone Clark, who we didn't think was even going to play, because he had spinal fusion surgery, he came in and played tremendously well. And now you have depth in the linebacking core. You have LVE, you have Clark, you have Parsons who can get back there, you have Overshown. You're like, oh, look at these Cowboys. As deep as since Parcells was drafted in linebackers.
Clark is something. His character, his leadership is born into him. He told those rookies to show up early. They were supposed to have a 8 o'clock practice time, schedule time meeting to get there early. Leadership, it means a lot in football. It means a lot in football, it really does. When you follow your leaders, you win. You have leaders, you have winners.
He's 6'3", 240. He's not a small linebacker.
No, he's jacked too.
Small linebacker who he can fly.
Yeah. And he's jacked.
He had no off season. He was really just recovering. Now he has a full off season, and he has a full weight training regimen. And his spinal fusion fixed everything. Right, that surgery really doesn't have any lingering. And he's healed up. He obviously played the rest of the season. He had 2 forced fumbles last year and a fumble recovery in the playoffs. He has a nose for the ball. He has this. You're like, you said it very well. Natural born leadership skills, which guys seem to gravitate towards. Another guy, you could see him, in my opinion, take a big step this year, and especially if you allow Micah to just move, or I would say primarily into the D end spot. Clark has the ability to take over that role in the middle. And even if LVE needs a break, he comes out, whatever, he's there. He can play. Also in the 5th round, the Cowboys drafted John Ridgway, who they ended up cutting. He's now with the Commanders, but he's still playing. Maybe, he's not out of the league. The Commanders.
Right.
He doesn't have a spot in the Cowboys, but
I could play it on the Commanders. If I went out this weekend, this summer, I could get on the team, please.
Listen, the final pick last year, they picked Devin Harper, linebacker from Oklahoma State. Another guy who's a good special teamer. I think he has a very specific role as special teamer and depth linebacker. I could see him still making it as that 5th linebacker, or what, if you want to call him 4th linebacker or 5th linebacker, depending on how you classify Micah Parsons. But he's no slouch. Again, I'm not expecting him to be Ray Lewis or Brian Urlacher, but a good depth pick, and he'll be there.
Absolutely. Well, you need special teams, especially with their coach they have, very valuable to your team. You have to understand what this defense has to do. Stop the 3rd down conversions. You look in time past, your top defense, they are number 1 in the leagues, top 5 in the league, and 3rd down conversions, giving up least 32% is, I think, like the top average. Your top defense, you give up 32. And if you're offense, you're 51% of converting is your top offenses.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. And I want to look at some
because
other.
I can tell you some third and longs over the last 10 years they gave up. Uh, yeah, remember them too.
I also want to look at some undrafted free agents real quick. They got Marquise Bell as safety. I believe it. Did he have an interception last year? He's a big boy. They have their big three safeties. I think he's the other one. He's a good special teamer. He can play. They have someone who I think this year will make the roster and play very well. That is Boston College center Alec Lidstrom, who we really like, who I think can really push Biotish. Biotish is a Pro Bowl center, but I think Lidstrom, he's another guy who's going to benefit from off season and he's healthy coming in. And then finally, you have at running back, you have Malik Davis, who I still think can make the roster as a third, fourth running back. Ronald Jones, Malik Davis is there. Deuce Vaughn, obviously, to go with Tony Pollard. Is there some guy that stands out to you there who's like, that's him, that's the guy?
Well, I'm a BC lineman guy. Any lineman from BC is going to have a career. Simple. And you don't have enough linemen. You know, Biotish really surprised me. He made the Pro Bowl. He earned it. He worked hard over the break over the summer, and they picked him in the Pro Bowl.
Player for the Dallas Cowboys this year. Maybe somebody.
Sorry, I have something.
That's all right. I thought it was mommy talking to you through there somehow. But anyways, mommy's always in my mind. Head. So that's it. I liked him. I followed him out of college and stuff. He knows how to play center. Is he stronger? That's what you got to stronger.
That's what you need out of your center these days, because D tackles, especially in this division, are big and strong. The Eagles have phenomenal D tackle. At least they have very big, powerful D tackles. I'll say that. The Commanders have excellent D tackles, right? The Giants have Dexter Lawrence. Like, these are not small boys; these are big boys, and they can move.
Oh yeah,
you have to be able to win pressure up front, and not everybody's Mark Stepnowski, who's 250 pounds, but all world wrestler who could pivot and put you where he needs. So you don't need Larry Allen at center, but you do need to be physically strong enough to be the center. So I have a lot of hope for that draft class playing more this year. The big question marks for me: can Jalen Tolbert give you anything of value, or is he just like, okay, well, it didn't hit in the third round, you move on. You still have CD and Cooks and Gallup, and you just okay, whatever. Can he show us something, especially in this offense? Can he be the vertical threat they want him to be? Okay, my question to you: all the undrafted free agents, who has the biggest rise this year, and then who is the best of those players by the end of the season? Who makes the biggest? And then who's the best? I'll start. I'll say the biggest rise, the biggest jump is Damone Clark, and I think he has Pro Bowl caliber play in him. I think just the play and his work ability, his ability and his work ethic give him the ability to be Pro Bowl, especially with a line up front that's physical, that clean up with Mozzie Smith and Quentin Bohannon and the rest of the guys, the lineman, Neville Gallimore. He can fly. He can pick the ball off. He's good in pass coverage. He's going to knock your teeth out. He has a nose for the ball. I think he takes the biggest jump. I say he's going to be a starter by the end of the year, and I think he can be Pro Bowl caliber. The best out of all the players, I think, is still Tyler Smith. I think he has the highest ceiling. Yeah, okay, he's a first-round pick. That's not always how it works, but I think he has all-pro caliber play in him. I'm not saying right away he's going to be one now, but I think by the end of the year, he's the best player out of that draft.
Well, I'm going to go with the wide receiver. I think the hard work always pays off, and you're going to see the hard work. But Dak mentored him a little bit, so I think he's going to know what to do on the field, where to go a little better, and I think you're going to see. Now, here's one for you: does he give us 3 touchdowns?
Okay, that's a good thing for a fourth receiver. Can he give you more than 3? I think over under, let's say three touchdowns. Does he give us?
Yeah, from 3 touchdowns from nothing is good.
Right, as a fourth
Mhm.
receiver, because CD's gonna
Yeah.
get his, Cook should get his,
Right.
Allen will still get stuff as a third receiver. Can he give you
Yeah.
3? That's a good number to
3.
pick on. And who's the best out
Yeah.
of that group after by the end of this season? Who's the best
Who's the best?
out of those draft picks and free agents?
Well, and free agents?
And so the guys that they signed, the undrafted free agents they signed, and that group of drafted players.
I want to go with the wide receiver they got from the Texans.
No, you're hear me out.
You said
That
free agent.
a group of from the 2022 draft, the guys they drafted and the undrafted free agents.
I'm sorry.
Took no doubt this year, but like who am I talking about last year? Out of those,
Now I understand. I'm sorry.
Who will be the best of them?
Sorry, Spencer, I got confused. I like Ferguson. I think he makes the Pro Bowl. I think he makes the Pro Bowl.
I'm excited to see.
He's a Pro Bowler. Mm-hmm.
He might get the snaps if Schoonmaker's foot doesn't allow him to get a lot in preseason. He might have the opportunity to step up and do that. Okay, that's our part for the review of the 2022 draft, where we're at, where we're going. I want to switch now to what the Cowboys are doing in the front office and then where they've been as a franchise. A couple weeks ago, the Cowboys hired John Park, who's basically like a rising star in the football analytics community, so to speak. It took him from the Colts. He's in charge. They're really beefing up that department, as Mike McCarthy said he was going to, and now he's finally getting to it. They also hired this lady, Sarah Molly Pale. Forgive me if I'm butchering the name. She's a strategic football analyst. She had been with the Ravens. People are raving about her in the analytics department. She is very, very smart, and she's done an excellent job in her role. They're going to start to expand the analytics department to see, okay, what can they do to kind of bring it back to the old Cowboys, and that leads me to some of the old Cowboys and how the front office has always been groundbreaking. Even more recent history with Jerry Jones putting together the draft board that teams use today. We want to talk about Jerry a little bit, Tex Schramm, Gil Brandt, and the great Tom Landry. Start with Tex Schramm, dude. We got a few minutes left. You can see. Start with Tex Schramm and his greatness and some of the stuff he's done.
Oh, right off the bat, what do you think? Is Dallas considered the East? Well, why should Dallas be in the East?
Right.
You know why?
The TV guy.
Television.
Yeah, he was a TV guy, a TV exec with NBC.
And Thanksgiving Day, nobody wanted it. Guess what? Dallas did. Mm-hmm. Right. So right there.
Schramm was one of the main people to meet secretly with the AFL. He was the one who met with Lamar Hunt to get the merger going. That was him. He was the one who proposed putting together an NFL combine. There's a litany of things that Schramm did. I mean, here's a few of the things. He put socks at the top of the field goal post to see which way the wind was blowing. He moved the goalpost back to the end zone rather than the goal line. And he was the one who had them painted like a bright yellow. He had hash marks moved in to open up the offense.
That made the NFL. Made the NFL because defenses were only guarding one side of the field. It made the NFL.
He pushed for instant replay on television, not necessarily use the NFL. He was the one who pushed for TV to show instant replays. He was the one who pushed for NFL Films to be the league, basically historian, and to mic referees so they could tell the people in the stands and now on the TV what was going on. Over time, there was no more sudden death. There was no more ties because they would just do overtime and then they had sudden death.
I told you this for years. Their organization does not get enough credit. That alone is mind blowing to what he brought to the NFL. Sorry, he doesn't get enough credit. The whole
organization for wild cards and revenue sharing for the owners that small markets could survive, and really, it's a market for all of modern sports to revenue share. That makes the NBA, MLB, these small markets. Think of the Rays and how they're successful. Look at the teams who are winning in Major League Baseball right now. You have the Rays, you have the Reds, you have some of these smaller markets that are being successful they wouldn't even be around without revenue sharing. And the last one I'm going to say about Schramm, he's the one who put not only the blue and metallic silver color scheme together, he was the one who chose to make the pants the seafoam green, because with the definition of
Right.
TVs back then was not bright, so it would come through and look on television as if it was silver, because silver would just be moved out as if it was gray. I mean, unbelievable.
Well, here's where to go back to what you're saying about being an athlete and playing a sport. Let me do it the business realm of it. He came from CBS, had all that ability from CBS, and he brought it into football. So that's what you're saying about a better athlete,
yes.
right? I think that's what that's the illustration of it. He took that television, but the first thing he did, he made sure Dallas was in the East.
Brilliant. With New York, Philadelphia, DC.
If they weren't in the East, I would have been a Redskin fan. My father said, "Yep, I would have been Commanders, Comancheros. What are their names? I don't know what their names are. If I do buy them, though, they're going to be the Washington Cortezes.
And listen, he also
worked with COR. They're going to have a COR on it. Go ahead.
He also worked with Gil Brandt, the godfather of scouting. Gil Brandt's the first player personnel director, right? Not just in charge of like GM responsibilities, but really player personnel development. And they work together. There's a great little video, which I'll connect at the bottom here of our YouTube channel, called The Cowboys and the Indian, about how they used IBM computers in the 60s to quantify players. Their advanced scouting, they got players like Rayfield Wright, Cornell Green. They drafted guys like Pat Riley. Bob Hayes was not a football player. He was a track star. He was the fastest man in the world, a gold medal Olympian. They drafted these players and said, we're going to teach you the skill and go from there. And guess what?
Yep.
They did.
Hall of Famers. They're Hall of Famers. Not they didn't have football careers. They were Hall of Famers. Yep. Gil Brandt, we get to heaven. I got 600-700 years to talk to him about football. Yep. Good 700-800. So that 1,000-year reign, I'm going to have so much fun talking to him about Dallas Cowboys.
I mean, he really pioneered drafting from small schools. And it wasn't just picked from Big 8 schools or SEC or whatever, or Pac-8 when back then. They were picking from schools that no one had heard of. They're picking Jethro Pugh out of a teaching college.
Elizabeth State, yeah. And look at Herbert Scott, Virginia Union. What's the Virginia Union, by the way? What is that? But you do know the Otis Taylor story when he came into Dallas and they locked him in the hotel so he wouldn't get out.
That was common back then for him to do that.
He would have had him on. He would have been on the Cowboys.
Right. And Cowboys also, they were bringing in a ton of undrafted free agents. That's where they got a lot of the guys that could bring in so many free agents and really take a good look at who was there, like Drew Pearson, Cliff Harris.
These guys are free agents. You know your chances to go to the Hall of Fame as a free agent and all decade teams. Cliff Harris, who went to, I think he went to the same size school as WestCon.
Yes. You know, look at Tom Landry. Now look at Landry. Landry's the first coach to have a laminated sheet to call the plays on the sidelines. You know that? Here's the first one to have that. Here's the first one to have a weekly press conference on Tuesdays to talk to the press. Here's the first one to get specific position coaches like a special teams coordinator, like strength and conditioning coaches. The first ones to have dietitians and sports psychologists, right? They're the first one to have a dedicated position for kickers and punters. Remember, guys like Lou Groza, the toe, he's playing tackle and kicker back in the day, the Hall of Famer. Well, the Cowboys start saying, you know what? We're going to have specific skill players for that. And they're the first team to actually have soccer shoes for those positions, not just like regular football cleats, specific to that. They start staying in a hotel the night before for home games. That's a Landry decision.
That was a Landry. I didn't know that.
We'll do that to this day.
Yeah.
And then you may think Landry creates the 4-3 defense for the Giants. And then the Cowboys, Landry creates the flex defense. This is really the grandfather of the zone blitzing scheme. And it is now. It stops the run. And he created the flex defense to stop Vince Lombardi's offense, which once he implemented that, they had a very difficult time running that run to daylight offensive scheme.
Well, they got Lily and George Andre up there in front. It
Right.
changed after the draft, because remember the first 3 years you get scrubs from Idaho and Montana teams. You know what I mean? There was nothing there until you started drafting, and the better players, the Leroy Jordans and Chuck Howleys, you weren't running against them. Yeah.
He also took the shotgun, which didn't have running backs in the backfield. He put the running backs in there. He improved the screen pass, and then of the shotgun, because they had running backs, teams couldn't just blitz. He really utilized the shovel pass to get plays right up the middle of the field. Not to mention gloves and knee braces mandatory for offensive linemen. That wasn't used before Landry. Shifting on offense to tell the defense. These are all Landry things. And then you get to Jerry Jones and his draft.
Well, let me just touch on Landry. He coached both sides of the ball and special teams. Unheard of.
Correct.
Unheard of.
That's where the Cowboys were. I'm interested to see where Mike McCarthy will. I'm not saying he's Tom Landry. I'm not saying he's Gil Brett or Tex Schramm. I'm not even saying he's got the business acumen of a Jerry Jones. But what he does have is he says he has the ability to see that something's wrong and says, I'm going to change it. And that's what he's done so far. And I'm intrigued to see where he's going with analytics. I bet you that's going to play into the running back situation. I'm intrigued to see what that's going to do going forward for the rest of the team as far as the draft goes. Cowboys Indians, I'm going to put down at the bottom. It's a great thing. We're almost done here. D, anything else you want to say? I mean, it's tough to get all of that in. Where else we got?
I got to shout out to Kelly Lewis. You know Kelly.
Yep.
She came in at the end of the year and replaced a teacher there who was well-loved, well-respected. And Kelly came in and did a fabulous job. She helped another teacher out tremendously. Unfortunately, she's a New York Giant fan. So, I feel sorry for her about that, but I did promise her I'd give her a shout out.
Hey,